welcome to TV Africa News, and thank you for always joining us. This is Africa Today. My name is Najuma Lima, but first are the headlines. Mixed reactions follow ICJ ruling asking Uganda to pay US $325 million in reparation to DRC. Minister Mayanja issues guidelines on land leases. Congolese MP arrested in North Kivu freed by the authorities. And in sports, Kadu goal and KCCA win over URA. A warm welcome once again. Now the news in detail. Mixed reactions have started to follow the UN's top court's ruling on Wednesday that ordered Uganda to pay the Democratic Republic of Congo US $325 million over a brutal war 2 decades ago, just a fraction of what Kinshasa demanded. We have more.
The ruling by the International Court of Justice comes as a blow to the DR Congo after it sought a massive $11 billion in reparations over the devastating conflict that lasted from 1998 to 2003. Judges say that Kinshasa had failed to prove that its African neighbor was directly responsible for any more than 15,000 of the hundreds of people believed to have died in the war. The chief judge of the Hague-based court said that the court set out the total amount of compensation awarded to the DRC, which is $325 million. Breaking down the figure, the court said Uganda must pay $225 million for damage to persons, including deaths, injuries and sexual violence, and $40 million for damage to property. It must also pay $60 million for damage to natural resources, including the looting of coltan, a metallic ore used in phones and computers, and other raw materials, deforestation, and the destruction of wildlife. Awarding DR Congo less than 1/30 of what it had demanded, the court acknowledged that Uganda was to blame for a significant part of the casualties in the war due to its wrongful international acts. According to judges, there was insufficient evidence to support the DRC's claim of 180,000 civilian deaths, for which Uganda owes reparation by being directly responsible.
The Minister of State for Lands, Sam Mayanja, has faulted district and city land boards for irregularly reallocating expired leases, hence unjustly depriving citizens of their land. We have more with Kachanchu.
In a message contained in a circular to the chairperson of Uganda Land Commission and all chairpersons of district and city land boards dated February 2, 2022, Mayanja stated these boards also purport to automatically re-enter running leases on public land. Mayanja noted that Article 237(3) of the Constitution of the 1995 recognizes leasehold as distinct land tenure alongside customary free land and milo tenure systems. He said that the incidents of the leasehold tenure are spelled out under Section 3.5 of the Land Act 227, which provides that leasehold is created either by contract or operation of law on specific terms and conditions under which a landlord grants a tenant exclusive possession of land for usually a defined period and usually in return for a premium and ground rent. As such, he said once a lease has been granted to a person, that lease becomes the property of that person as a tenancy and subject to the rights indicated in the 1995 Constitution and Land Act Cap 227. Mayanja said leases granted by Uganda Land Commission out of the government land or leases granted by district land boards out of former public land, statutory leases by former controlling authorities abolished by the 1995 Constitution are regarded as public leases.
Following its rehabilitation, MV Pamba has resumed operations on Lake Victoria after 16 years of absence to boost Uganda's water transport business. The vessel with 24 crew has the capacity to carry 22 wagons, which is equivalent to 22 40-feet containers. We have more.
Prime Minister Robinah Nabbanja on Thursday flagged off the return to the waters at a function attended by a number of officials, including the Works and Transport Minister General Katumba Wamala. Nabbanja said that water transport is one of the cheapest means of transport but has not been officially exploited in Uganda. Nabanja, however, noted that there is need to ensure the new vessel is affordable for those who want to use it to avoid scenarios of a white elephant. She added that there needs to be more vessels on Ugandan waters to transport cargo and ensure the country's roads are saved from damage. Works and Transport Minister General Katumba Wamala said the return of MV Pamba will boost Uganda's capacity to handle business on Lake Victoria. The 36-year-old vessel will operate on Lake Victoria between Port Bell, Jinja, Mwanza and Kisumu, making an average of 12 journeys per month. According to Stanley Sendegeya, the Uganda Rails Corporation Managing Director, the only cargo vessel can carry up to 1,000 tons of cargo or 1 million liters of fuel per month. But built in 1987 by the Belgian Ship Incorporation, MV Pamba was manufactured under the same arrangement as MV Kabalega, MV Kawa and MV Mwanga. The government-owned vessel is managed by Uganda Railways Corporation but was grounded in 2005 after colliding with MV Kawa a few meters away from Port Bell.
Let's take a quick break. We will be right back. Welcome back. You're still watching TV Africa News, The Right to Know. A Congolese MP arrested in North Kivu in eastern DRC has been released by the military authorities. The MP Joshua Mofula was arrested on Tuesday and brought before a military court on Wednesday.
The Member of Parliament is accused of inciting disobedience and insulting the army for distributing material challenging the security measures imposed last year in North Kivu and neighboring Ituri province. According to National MP Julien Munubo, it is true that they are in a state of siege where security forces are on the alert, but a member of parliament should not be arrested for nothing. He added that to arrest someone, there must be serious indications of guilt, otherwise it becomes arbitrary. The government forced out civilian officials, replacing them with army or police officers, with the declared aim of boosting a campaign against armed groups in the troubled region. The measure has so far failed to stem attacks.
That death toll from tropical cyclone Batsirai has risen to 92 in Madagascar by Wednesday, according to authorities and humanitarian organizations. Ramped up aid efforts with more than 110,000 people in need of emergency assistance.
The National Office for Risk and Disaster Management released data from the hardest hit regions, revealing that 71 of the dead were in Ikongo district, near the east coast of the Indian Ocean island nation. BNGRC Director General Paulo Emilio said that Batsirai, which made landfall on the weekend, had left 112,000 people needing emergency assistance and forced 61,000 from their homes. Many NGOs and UN agencies have begun to deploy resources and teams to help the victims of the cyclone, which brought heavy rain and winds of 165 kilometers per hour. France sent 60 emergency workers to help set up facilities for purifying drinking water and to fly drones to assess damage in areas that are difficult to reach even at the best of times. The tropical cyclone hit Madagascar on Saturday night on a 150-kilometer-long, sparsely populated and agricultural eastern coastal area. As the cyclone moved inland, it caused flooding that ravaged rice fields in the country's central breadbasket, raising fears of a humanitarian crisis. BNGRC say that work is underway on the 20 roads and the 17 bridges that were cut and had isolated villages.
Away from that, Libya found itself with two prime ministers on Thursday after its parliament voted a rival to replace the existing unity government's chief, Abdulhamid Dbeibah.
Libya's eastern-based parliament named a new prime minister on Thursday. The House of Representatives said its decision followed Prime Minister Abdelhamid Dbeibah's failure to hold presidential elections in December. Abdullah Bliheg, spokesperson for the Libyan House of Representatives, explained the process that after Mr. Bati Bashaga, the Speaker of the House, obtained the required recommendations from the High Council of State, and candidate Khalid Al-Beibas was unable to obtain the required recommendations from the High Council of State, the House of Representatives voted to grant confidence to Mr. Bati Bashaga as a head of the new government with the anonymous consent of the representatives present in today's session. Libya now has two prime ministers, which deepens divisions between Eastern and Western administrations. Member of the National Forces Alliance Party, Hamza Al-Gedewi, is not convinced by this strategy either and said that what was important was the goal behind changing the government, whether it resolves the problems that the roadmap failed to solve. Bashaga and Deiba, both from the powerful western city of Misrata, have the support of rival armed groups in the Libyan capital and the surroundings. Observers fear Thursday's vote could repeat a 2014 scheme which saw two parallel governments emerge. The 2014 crisis had seen a United Nations-backed unity government face off against the parliament, which is backed by Eastern Military Chief Khalifa Haftar, another candidate in the elections set for December.
Moving on, drought conditions have left an estimated 13 million people facing severe hunger in the Horn of Africa, according to the United Nations World Food Programme. People fleeing drought have been pouring into camps on the outskirts of Mogadishu, with many lacking food, water and proper shelter. People in Somalia, Ethiopia and Kenya face the driest conditions recorded since 1981, the agency reported Tuesday, calling for immediate assistance to forestall a major humanitarian crisis. World Food Programme said it needs US $327 million to look after the urgent need of 4.5 million people over the next 6 months and help communities become more resilient to extreme climate shocks. In a statement, it said 3 consecutive failed rainy seasons had decimated crops and caused abnormally high livestock deaths. The director of Mogadishu's De Martino Hospital, Dr. Abdurizak Yusuf Ahmed, said the number of admissions for malnourishment had surged over the past months. He also added that the mortality numbers of severely acute malnourished children increased. Prime Minister Mohamed Robo has gathered the private sector to form a drought task force seeking to mitigate the effects of the dry conditions. Let's once again take a quick break. We will be right back. Welcome back. You're still watching TV Africa News, the right to know. The European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen announced on Thursday a more than $171 billion investment plan for Africa as she met with President Macky Sall. The EU chief was in Dakar to meet President Macky Sall.
The chairperson of the African Union, Macky Sall, welcomed the announcement, saying that Europe and Africa should work together, firstly because of their geographical proximity, where the peace and stability of the two continents are closely linked. He added that with its human and natural resources and its development needs, Africa offers Europe opportunities for investment and partnerships for shared growth and prosperity. The multi-billion-dollar investment is part of the EU investment scheme for infrastructure. The European Union's Global Gateway Investment Scheme, which aims to mobilize investments of up to $340 billion for public and private infrastructure around the world by 2027. It is seen by some as a response to China's Belt and Road Initiative. The scheme will draw on private sector investments as well as funding from EU institutions and member countries. The EU chief arrived in Senegal on Wednesday to prepare for the EU-AU summit scheduled on February 17th and 18th. Van der Leyen said that the summit investments will be at the heart of the discussions because they are the means of our shared ambition.
In our health news today, Lagos is experiencing an increase in the number of fitness centers due to residents' desire to take part in physical activities. Lagosians have made regular physical activity like cycling, squatting, weighting, gliding, and taking part in sports or active recreation as a hobby. The World Health Organization defines physical activity as any bodily movement produced by skeletal muscles that requires energy expenditure. It also said physical activity refers to all movement, including during leisure time for transport, to get to and from places, or as part of a person's work. According to World Health Organization, both moderate and vigorous intensity physical activity improve health. The 2020 World Health Organization guidelines on physical activity and sedentary behavior states that people who are insufficiently active have a 20% to 30% increased risk of death compared to people who are sufficiently active. In a city where hustle and bustle are the order of the day, many residents hardly have time for themselves. However, those who are health conscious are creating time for workout. For them, keeping fit is important for a healthy lifestyle. But tracing the reason for exercising, Khadijat Aremu, a fitness enthusiast, said that if you exercise much, it frees up space, it gets you fit, and you can do anything you want. The Nigerian fitness industry took a hit with the emergency of COVID-19 after the closure of gyms and fitness centers due to the imposition of lockdown by the Nigerian government in 2020. The lockdown meant many Nigerians had to stay indoors for close to 3 months. During the lockdown, owners of fitness centers had to devise ways to conduct sessions for their members. Following the lifting of the lockdown in 2020, the government put in place some sanitary measures for fitness centers to reopen with limited attendance. And finally, in our sports news today, Patrick Kadu scored his first goal for KCCA FC on his return to the MTN Omondi Stadium to help the home side register a crucial and sweet 1-0 victory over URA FC on Wednesday afternoon. The Kasasiro boys were intent on ending a run of 6 games without victory against URA FC, with the game also providing extra spice as it pitted second versus third. We have more with Kachanchu.
With league leaders Vipers Sports Club winning their early kick-off against Bull Bidco Football Club, it set the tone for the game as either side needed 3 points to keep the leaders in sight. But Molebie Kwaso's men were dominant from the get-go, pinning their visitors in their own half for long periods, especially in the first half. Kadu produced the moment that eventually decided the game after only 96 seconds, poking home from close range after the tax collectors failed to deal with a long throw-in. The striker who scored the 7th goal in KCCA's last victory over URA at Lugogo reintroduced his famous monkey dance as the crowd were in full voice behind him. KCCA should have been well ahead by halftime, but Arafat Usama's shot was blocked by Hudu Mulichi, while Rogers Mato spun a glorious opportunity shooting straight at the goalkeeper Allianz Nafion. Kadu was also denied by a fantastic stop from Nafian, clipping his shot at the on-rushing goalkeeper when he was played through on goal from another classic counter-attack. Uganda Revenue Authority had a better showing in the second half, dominating possession but had only 2 shots on goal, and none of them and goalkeeper Benjamin Ochan in a worry. However, it is KCCA that could have added a second late on, but Charles Luanga heaved Yasam Gerwa's cross over the crossbar from 5 yards out. KCCA moved to 35 points, a part behind leaders Vipers, and now 7 points ahead of URA, who stay third on 28 points.
That was the news. Thank you for always keeping it TV Africa. Please do stay tuned. More programming coming your way.